Peace, family. Welcome to the Revolutionary Wealth Builders channel where we bring wealth education to the people. Before we get started, I always have to ask for you guys to like, share, and subscribe. We need the support. I would like to thank all of the new subscribers and all of the people who will subscribe. Today, I'm going to talk about 5 very important things that we must consider if we want to build revolutionary wealth, dynastic wealth, or wealth to pass down to our children. We have to adopt a new philosophy surrounding wealth and a new frame of thinking, new ideologies surrounding wealth, what wealth actually is, how to acquire it, how to secure it, and how to keep it, and how to pass it down to our children. And so welcome back to Revolutionary Wealth Builders. And I'm going to blow through these very, very quickly. My goal is to be off in 6 minutes or less. So let's get started. Number 1, 5 rules to building revolutionary wealth. Be your own central bank and avoid debt. What do I mean by be your own central bank? That is different from being your own bank. Being your own bank means that you don't put money in the bank or that you put your money up under the bed. Being your own central bank means securing assets that do not incur counterparty risk. And paper dollars can still put you at risk of losing your wealth because paper dollars can remotely be hyperinflated away and paper dollars can be debased and devalued. So while you may have the physical paper in your hand, the value of that paper or the purchasing power of that paper can still diminish. You need to accumulate hard assets that cannot be inflated away. You need to accumulate hard assets that you can own, control, and pass down to your children. That's what being your own central bank means. Having those things in your possession, you having complete power and autonomy over those assets. Number 2. These are our opinion. This is not financial advice. This is what we do. 85% of our portfolio must be in precious metals, income producing property, crop producing land, some form of liquid cash and liquidity. And we want to stay away from too much liquidity, too much liquid cash in this currency, in this environment where the Federal Reserve is debasing currency at a very rapid rate and printing up money and giving it away at a very accelerated pace. So we want to try to stay away from paper dollars, but absolutely 85% of the portfolio should be made up of physical precious metals, income producing property, crop producing land, and then some liquid cash in case you need to transact or buy things when they are cheap, which we will talk about. Number 3, own your home cash. I realize that everybody can't do that. Some of you are 10 years in on a mortgage, 4 years in on a mortgage. If you can't do that, teach it to your children. It's going to be very important for their future. We should not engage in borrowing money to buy more home than we can afford. How do you know that it is more home than you can afford? The fact that you had to finance it is what that means. At one point in time in our history, there was no mortgage. There was no ability to buy things on time, cars and homes. And if you didn't have the money to buy it cash, then you did not acquire it. We as poor and impoverished Black people in America cannot afford to borrow money from institutions, from lending institutions, and then paying back more and 2 and 3 times more than the value of the thing that we are buying. We are getting other people wealthy, and they use that wealth to continue to use that wealth as an instrument to oppress poor and impoverished people, not just in inner cities, but all over the world. And it is important for us to understand as we borrow, we get other people stronger and it makes us weaker. It's difficult for us to understand that because we have been told that to purchase a home is the American dream. We want to live in suburbs surrounding the inner cities as opposed to buying homes cash within the inner cities and making those communities better. We want to We want to live around people who don't desire to live around us, buy more house than we can afford, and go into debt with people who use those resources and surpluses of funds to continuously oppress our people. And so we don't understand those things. So that's number 3. Number 4, own your car cash. We should not be buying more car than we can afford. How do you know it's more car than you can afford? Because if you could afford it, you could just buy it cash. I know some of you are going to say, well, I just lease it and give it back. Why would I want to buy a car and keep it and then the car breaks down? Well, when you own it, it's your asset. You have to know when to sell the asset when it is losing value, but you would have that asset under your control. As it stands now, we purchase things and on credit and pay 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12% interest on something that we are just using to go from A to B. We can buy a $4, $5, $6, $7,000 car cash that runs really well with 60, 50, 70, 80,000 miles on it that will last 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 years to do the same job as the car that we buy brand new. We simply buy brand new cars because they make us feel good, because we like to look at them. And in order to build wealth, you have to get out of your feelings and you have to get into practicality and taking care of business in a manner to where you can do something for your children, where it's not just about you, it's about your children, your grandchildren, and your great-grandchildren, and your great-great-grandchildren. If you want to look good today, if you want to look good today, then that means you essentially are foregoing the opportunity to provide something bigger and grander for your descendants moving forward, which makes you selfish. Number 5, buy assets when they are cheap and sell them when they are overpriced. It is commendable that we as people are starting to look into different equity markets and asset classes to invest so we can make profits and take profits off the table, but that is not enough. We need to learn what these asset classes represent, how they grow, where they are in their particular growth cycle. Are we in a bull market? Are we in a bear market? Is it at a top? Is it in a bubble? Is it getting ready to pop? Because if you go into these asset classes at the wrong time, you can end up losing a lot of money. And one of the most important principles of building wealth is to protect thy wealth from loss. And so you have to educate yourself. You buy assets when they are cheap and you ride them up, and you sell them when they are overpriced. And so those are the 5 rules to building revolutionary wealth. Be your own central bank. You have to diversify 85% of your portfolio. Own your home cash. If you can't do that, teach it to your children. Own your car cash. If you are in a car note, if you are locked into a contract with a car, once that concludes, buy a car cash. Number 5, buy assets when they are cheap and sell them when they are overpriced. Tesla is not cheap. Google stock is not cheap. Apple stock is not cheap. Those things are expensive. Find the cheap assets, purchase those assets, and then ride those assets up and pull your profits off of the table by selling them when they become overpriced, or when they grow higher in price. This has been 8 minutes and 30 seconds of wealth education from the Revolutionary Wealth Builders, and where we bring wealth education to the people. Click the like button, click the subscribe button, and please share this with all of your people. I hope this brings value to you and your family. Peace and love.